If you as a trucker think that DOT can write you a ticket or violation for wearing flip-flops, you're wrong. And I already know the comments on this video are probably going to be a little bit wild because this is a widely debated topic in the trucking industry. But like you all know, that's what we're here for. I would say this is one of the most emotional arguments in trucking ever. The boots versus flip-flops. The safety versus common sense. What should be legal versus what actually is illegal. And by the end of today's video, you're going to know exactly what FMCSA says, why so many drivers believe the wrong thing, and one major situation where footwear can still cause a pretty big problem. Most drivers really never hear the full explanation about the wearing flip-flops and driving trucks. And that right there is why this debate almost never dies. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back. My name is Cole. I'm a state DOT cop, and I drop videos every single week to help you stay educated, to help you stay in the know, and most of all, to help you stay rolling. On this channel, I break down DOT inspections, FMCSA regulations, the trucking industry, trucking compliance tips, and trucking myths. If you drive a truck, you manage a fleet, or you just want to stop guessing about regulations, this channel is for you, so hit that like, subscribe button. Let's get into it. Now, let's start with the part people don't like. There is no FMCSA regulation that tells a driver what kind of footwear they must wear while operating a commercial motor vehicle. Literally, none. There is no rule out there that said that boots are required. There are no rules out there that said that shoes are required. And there are no rules that ban flip-flops. In fact, there are no regulations that mention sandals, sneakers, slides, or anything else. And if it's not written in the FMCSA, DOT is not going to enforce it because we enforce regulations by the FMCSA. DOT enforcement is not based on opinions, no matter how many of y'all out there may think that. It's not even based on what feels right. It's just based on the federal regulations. And I already know, I can just feel it. Some people are already sitting there thinking like, that can't be right. Or flip-flops, that's dangerous. Or DOT should regulate that. And trust me, we're gonna get to that, but stay with me. So why does this myth exist? Where does this belief even come from? A lot of carriers require boots, especially flatbed, tanker, hazmat, LTL. That's not DOT, that's your employer. And that's one of the major starting points of this rumor or myth that's been going around that says that DOT regulates what footwear you have on. A lot of that started because a company told drivers that they cannot wear flip-flops. So the drivers got in their head that flip-flops are not allowed for driving trucks. So they go to the truck stops and what do? You joke, you talk, you spread some news. Some of that news might be fake news, some might be not. And that's one of the major ways that that rumor gets spread. But there are other ways, because even outside of a company telling drivers that they must wear boots, drivers still blur the line between company rules and what DOT regulations are. This belief secondly comes from safety culture. And if you know what safety culture is, go ahead and comment down below right now what you think it is, but we're going to talk about it anyway. So safety culture is just safety culture. It looks safe, so it must be safe. Boots look more safe than flip-flops, so boots are the safer option. But there are no regulations stating that. You know, many people say that boots look professional, boots feel safer, boots look safer. But again, unfortunately or fortunately for some people that like wearing flip-flops, there are no regulations talking about any of those things. So over time, a lot of drivers assume that if something feels unsafe, then DOT must be regulating it. DOT has to be regulating it if this feels or looks unsafe, right? Wrong. That's not always the case. Just like in this case. That's just not how FMCSA works. Now, the third place that this belief comes from, we kind of touched on it slightly earlier, is going to be word of mouth. Just people talking. Truckers talking to their friends, their family, people at the truck stop, strangers, spreading what they think they know or spreading the knowledge that they have mixed in with a little bit of myths. And just like that, it spreads like wildfire. Because think about it this way. If someone is a brand new driver and they legit don't know any regulations, and you as a very experienced driver are telling them that wearing flip-flops is illegal, they are more than likely going to believe you, and then they're going to tell all of their friends and blah blah. You know how word of mouth works. A lot of times word of mouth can sometimes be just bad information. And like we said, that bad information spreads. The typical, well, I know a guy who knows a driver that got written up for wearing flip-flops starts happening. I've even heard that, right? Me as an inspector, I've heard that on the road. Someone told me, well, my friend got a violation because he was wearing flip-flops. And I didn't get upset. I was kind of like, really? And he's like, yeah, he even has the paperwork and everything. So I said, okay, cool. I'm gonna go back to my truck to finish up my paperwork. Text your friend and see if he can send you the paperwork, please. And of course, I finish up, I go back up to chat with the driver, and he's like, well, he doesn't have the, ticket anymore. He already threw it out. It was such a long time ago. And then the excuses went on and on and on, aka stuff that never happened. No one ever actually shows the actual violation because it was never the violation for footwear. If people could just flat out get violations and tickets for footwear, tickets and violations will be handed out like candy because the amount of people that I inspect that come from all over the US, a lot of them are wearing socks, or they're driving in sandals, slides, flip-flops, and things of that nature. And then I know some drivers that only like to wear boots. So it's seeming like it really comes down to personal preference. Let me know what you think down in the comments and let me know what you wear. Now, here's where so many people stop listening, but this part really matters. Just because something is not illegal does not mean it cannot get you in trouble. Let that sink in. DOT doesn't care about your shoes until your shoes cause another violation. So for example, if your footwear interferes with safe operation, it's slipping, catching, delaying, braking, and so forth, or it caused a crash, now we're talking about the unsafe driving. And your footwear caused that. That's not a footwear ticket, that's a driver behavior thing. Now also, many drivers out there do not know this. If you're involved in a crash, whether it's serious or not, footwear does become a factor and it will be looked at. I've seen this happen over and over again, from fatal crashes to non-fatal crashes. Footwear is looked at. Again, not because it's illegal, but because it contributes to the factors. Now remember and keep in mind, there are company policy violations. So if your company requires that you wear boots and then you ignore it, your company may ding you, or DOT may just write notes to document it as like a driver compliance issue. But again, it's not a ticket, it's not a violation. So I just want to say this clearly again, because this is where the internet sort of twists things. DOT cannot write you a ticket just for wearing flip-flops, but that doesn't mean that footwear is irrelevant. And I think we're on the same page now with seeing how those two things mesh. At least I hope we are. Here, let me give you a few real-world examples. Example number one, someone gets into a fender bender. It's a commercial motor vehicle TT unit and a passenger car. The operator of the passenger car gets pretty injured and has to get transported to the hospital. A DOT inspector shows up to do a post-crash inspection and sees that the truck driver was wearing flip-flops, like between the toes flip-flops. And while interviewing that driver about what happened, the driver states, well, he was trying to hit his brake, but his flip-flop got stuck when he was trying to pump and release the brake, and he then lost controls, hitting this vehicle. That's example number one. Boom. So right there, we already have a problem. They start investigating. They get a statement saying that, oops, my footwear caused this crash, or my footwear caused braking issues. Example number two, that same scenario, but now the driver is wearing boots. The driver says, hey, I tried to stop and I just could not stop in time. We look at their footwear, they're wearing boots. They didn't mention anything about anything being stuck underneath the brake pedal or anything like that. So they're not going to be getting notes in that inspection report for unsafe driving because of footwear and flip-flops being stuck underneath the brake and so forth. You see where I'm going with this? That's why a lot of people out there just say, just don't wear flip-flops. I know it is up to you all. So again, that's not me telling you that, but many drivers out there, they just don't like flip-flops for some reason. And in that scenario I just explained to you, you can kind of see where it can be dangerous. And here's a pretty hot take I got for you. What's legal and what's smart may not always be the same thing. Is wearing flip-flops legal while driving a truck? Yes. Would I personally recommend it? No, but it also depends. Some people just think it's more comfortable to drive around in. I'm not the one sitting in the truck for hours on end. Should people wear flip-flops if they're, driving local or doing yard moves? That's gonna be up to them. Now, if you're doing really long haul, you're in the mountains, you're in bad weather, that's when it starts getting a little bit unreasonable, and I do believe that you should probably throw a pair of closed-toed boots or shoes on. But again, DOT enforces the law and the regulations, and drivers are responsible for their own personal judgment. A lot of drivers I talk to out there say that this argument really isn't about shoes. It's about professionalism. It's about pride. They say it's about what trucking used to be about versus what it is now. And many people out there think that it is becoming a non-professional career. Now, I want to hear from you. Should DOT heavily regulate footwear or have some sort of regulations when it comes to footwear and flip-flops? Let me know down in the comments. Or do you think that should just stay out of federal regulations as well? Let me know down in the comments too. So let's recap. Remember, there are no FMCSA regulations on footwear. DOT can't write you just for flip-flops, but footwear can still matter depending on the situation that you find yourself caught up in. If this video helped to clear things up for you, or you got any value from this video, please go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button so that this video gets pushed out to as many other drivers as possible, and we keep the family growing. Until next video, stay safe, keep rolling.